Evangelist Anthony Chinedu, and this is Reformation TV official, the media arm of the ministry called the Rapture Ready Ministries. Today, I want to come here your way with a topic, and a very important one for that matter. Still on the Passing the Torch series. Passing the Torch series. Today we want to talk about how leaders in the church, how they're supposed to, and what they're supposed to know, and what they're supposed to understand, what they're supposed to understand concerning the issue of changing the pattern, so as they will not leave the church in trouble when they must have gone, so that they will not leave whoever that is going to succeed them after, whoever that's going to take the position after them in trouble when they must have gone. I want to take examples from the Bible. The most popular example from the Bible is the story of Elijah and Elisha. Towards the tail end of the ministry of Elijah, God told Elijah to go and look for Elisha in his field where he's taking care of his animals, and anoint him to take care of, to succeed him, and then to go and look for Jehu and anoint Jehu to do what? To become the king of Israel. Then, in obedience, because that is what God requires from us, obedience, Elijah went and anointed Elisha. And immediately, in obedience also, Elisha dropped everything he's doing and followed Elijah. And together they walked, they labored, and Elisha learned from Elijah. Then, at the end, on the very day that Elijah was to be lifted, was to be taken away, Elijah followed all the way. Even when Elijah was telling Elijah, stay here, wait for me, I must follow you to the end. Stay here and wait for me. Elijah said, I must follow you to the end. And then Elijah followed to the end, and then the mantle was passed to him. What am I trying to say there? Elijah, in obedience to the will of God, in obedience, I want you to understand that very clearly. In obedience, because this is what is lacking in the church today. In obedience, Elijah went. Some of these churches, God said, go, pick this person, bring him up, raise him to succeed you. All that will be going through their mind is that this one will come and take over my seat. I don't want anybody to take over my seat. I don't want anybody to take my seat. I am still here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to die. I'm not this and that. They will start giving God, or giving themselves excuses and reasons why they will not be able to obey the instructions of God. And by the time they leave the scene without obeying God, the church will be facing serious tribulations, serious trouble. Because there are a lot of people inside that church that is eyeing that seat. And that's the reason why, if you check the Bible, God has not taken away his servants without instructing the servant to do what? To choose a replacement, work with that successor until the time he is about to be he is to be taken away. Reasons why it's so is that so that the people will know, the people will understand, it will be clear. By the time the man of God is gone, people would have known. It will have dawned on them. You would have solved a lot of people, a lot of problems, a lot of things that would have happened. You would have solved a lot of problems. There will be no problem, there will be no dragging, there will be no issues. But if you fail, there will be issues. If you fail, there will be issues. God instructed Elijah, and he went and he took Elisha and took Elisha with him, walked with him, walked with him, trained him, brought him up. How many of our general overseers, how many of our general superintendents, bishops, how many of them today will be able to do this? How many of them? It is only this way that problem of leadership in the church can be solved. There's no two ways about it. If you write a letter with the name of your successor and hide it until after your death, and the letter will be opened and read, my dear general overseer, my dear bishop, what you have done is this. You have the letter you wrote is a letter bomb. You have written a letter bomb that will explode and may bury that church. Because so many people will go against it. So many people will work against it. So many people will not agree to that. Just because you are not there. Just because you have left the scene. But if you are there with the grace of God in you and the instructions of God, and you appoint somebody and work with and go with the person, at the end of the day, when you leave the scene, when you leave the ministry, or when you left the ministry in the hands of that your successor, you will see that the people will transfer the love they have for you to him. Just because you have they have seen the two of you, the two of you have ministered before them, and they have all come to understand that yes, this man is the successor, even without you telling them. The wonderful thing there is that they would transfer their love, the love they have for you, to him when you are no more. But if you fail, because themselves they love that city, they love your position, they want your position. So if you do not choose somebody, if you do not ask God, and by God's grace you get somebody to be in that position before you leave, they will also feel that they also are qualified for that seat. And then there will be issues. They'll begin to size themselves, they begin to compare themselves, they begin to compare themselves by their educational qualifications, by their biblical knowledge, by their stature, by their social status. So come to play. And if care is not taken, the church will go into pieces. Now, our second example is this. I always like to talk about Rehan Bonke and Daniel Kolenda because this happened before our very own eyes. The other story I talked about was recorded in the Bible way back before we were born. But this is the one that happened before us. Like I said in the other video, what happened? It's time for Rehan Bonke to go home. He God instructed him. He said, in his own word, he said, God told me that the anointed must be appointed. And I saw the anointing in Daniel calendar. And, and the moment that anointing was spotted in Daniel calendar, the advocate took him up and began to work with him. They begin to walk from one African country to the other. They begin to traverse African countries, preaching the gospel, holding crusades, getting millions of people saved. Maybe unknown to Daniel Kolanda that he's going to be the next CEO. Maybe he doesn't know, but the Halbonke already know. And then they were working together. They went together to everywhere, all the work, whatever they have to do in Africa and beyond. It was the two of them going, traveling, and having their affairs. For this reason, for this reason, by the time it was time for Daniel Kolenda to be anointed, to be prayed for, to take over from Daniel Kolenda and from Rehoboam, you saw that even his family, even his own very immediate family, the high-ranking officials in the ministry, everybody submitted. They transferred the love they have for Rehoboam to Daniel Kolenda. Every respect they have for Rehoboam, they give it to Daniel Kolenda. Everything they have, they transferred it. The family members did not object. The members of the ministry, the high-ranking members of the ministry, did not object this. Because of what? He listened to God. Because of what? He did not bring in his own idea. Because of what? He did not have his preferred candidates, the people he wants to choose. So you see it. That's exactly what I want to bring it. I want to bring it to the attention of some of our general overseers who are still alive today, who are yet to learn the lesson that the very act of Rehan Bonke offers. What am I talking about? Elijah did the same thing. Rehan Bonke practiced it. What about Jesus Christ? The moment Jesus Christ started his earthly ministry, what happened? The first action, the first thing that Jesus Christ did was to select the 12. The first thing he did was to select the 12. And why? Because these 12 are those that would take over from him when he finishes earthly ministry. And he walked with them, trained them, sent them out in twos, monitor their ways, monitor what they teach, monitor them, monitor their character, monitor their lifestyle. The one that is not faithful was removed and replaced. For 3.5 years, these people went under the tutelage of Jesus Christ teachings, and they were trained and they were impacted. And when Jesus Christ left the scene, they stood to their ground, and the gospel had to get to you and me today. Are you seeing it? Is it making sense to you now? If your general overseer is not watching this, get this video and let him watch, because we are trying to make corrections. A lot of churches, a lot of ministries are having problems. They are shadows of themselves because of that mistake. Their general overseers, their leaders left the scene, left the ministry without making sure that there is a replacement, there's a successor. And that is why they're having all sort of problems. At that time, you will know that there are a lot of people, half of the church members want that seat. You will know that a lot of people want that seat. And to stop that and to avoid that, you have to do like Elijah and Elisha. You have to be like Jesus Christ. You have to do like Daniel Kolanda. You choose your successor while you're still alive, so as to save the ministry, so as to save the church from problems, from trouble. You have to do that. If, like I said, if your ministry, if your general overseer, if your church leader is have no access to the video and you have access to it and you see it, take it to them. Let them watch. I weep, I pray for churches like Deeper Life, churches like Redeem, and so many of the likes, whom their leaders are, are, are getting aged. Of course, they're aged, the aging with grace. They're getting aged. They are going, their years are counting down. Yet they are there without, they are just ministering, going about doing their things without somebody that will go with them. I mean, without somebody that will replace them, their successor standing by their side, standing by them while they are still alive. Elijah had his successor standing by his side while he still working with him while he's still alive. That Rehoboam had his successor standing right by him for years before he left the ministry and left it in his hand. Jesus Christ had his successor standing all around him before leaving the ministry in their hands. Then you can't be wiser than this. You can't be wiser than Jesus Christ. You can't be wiser than Elisha. And then you can't be wiser than Rehoboam, because these people acted according to the instructions of God and according to the will of God. Therefore, I will advise, I am not here to tell you, general overseer, general superintendent, or whatever position you hold. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I'm here to advise you. I'm here to point your attention to the biblical practices that saved Christianity from that time till now. That the whole thing got to you and I. If Jesus Christ didn't choose his successors as as the first assignment of his, he came up, he started his ministry. The first assignment was to choose his successors, and they stood around him and he trained them and he worked with them, and they went for 3.5 years. And then he left the ministry in their hands and they were able to stand. And here we have Christianity with us. Now, what do you think you are doing? You're a general overseer, you're a general superintendent, you're a founder, and you're sitting down there ministering, enjoying yourself in the ministry, in the service of God, and your successor is not standing by you. The people have not seen you walk with your successor. Your successor is not standing by you. Your successor is not standing by you as you speak. There's a mistake, and there's going to be a problem, and you cannot run away from it. If you are hearing this today, if you're hearing this now, go and make amends. Before you leave the ministry in the hands of the trustees, the elders, whoever, make sure you ask God who is to succeed you. Let God name the person. Let God tell you who that person is and bring the person to stand, sit by you, walk by you, eat with you, go wherever you are going, and let the people see the two of you eating together, walking together. Let the people see you training that person. That will save you a lot of problems when you leave the ministry. That will save you a lot of issues. That will save the church from scattering. That will save the church from the hands of the scavengers in the church. That also will save the church from the hands of the church politicians, those who came into the church for positions. But if you fail to do all of these things, it's only God that will help that ministry to succeed or to survive after you. Now, the opportunity is here. Maybe in all the years of your ministry, you have not taught it that way. Maybe you have not seen it this way, or maybe you don't have this understanding. God is bringing this understanding for you. I mean, to you now. And then, if you're a general overseer, if you're a GO, if you're a founder, right now, it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter as long as you still have breath in your nose. Your breath is still there. Go right on your knees now and begin to ask God. Do like the Rehabonke. Ask God. Do like I mean, listen to God and obey God like Elijah. Obey God like Rehabonke. Go and look for that person that God is pointing. Educational background should not be the issue. The person's look should not be the issue. Respect the fact that God mentioned the name of that person, because there is something God has deposited there. There's something God saw, and there is a level of training that God has taken that young man or that young woman through that you may not tell you may not know. Your own is to obey God. When God say it's Mr. A, look for that Mr. A, bring him close, bring him to you, and let him stand by you. It will help your ministry when you are no more. It will help your ministry when you are no longer there. Don't forget, this is Passing the Torch series. We will not stop until we reform some certain things in the church. We will not stop until we reform things and bring back the glory of God to the church. What are we trying to do? What we're trying to do here is that some of these things that men overlook, some of these things that men doesn't even, you know, think of. They keep looking for what is troubling the church from the mountains, from the valleys, and but all of these small things, these little things that they did not even think about, is what we want to bring to the fore. What we want to bring to your knowledge. That the moment you fell to do it according to the way Elisha did by obeying God, according to the way Rehoboam did by according to how Jesus Christ did. The moment you miss it at that point, then you have created a problem. The worst mistake you will do is just to write a letter and then put the name of your successor and hide it somewhere, and then when you die, the trustees will open the letter and read out the name of, and then that is that is that is a problem. That is a letter bomb. It may work, it may not work. It may not, it may be the reason, it may be the single thing that will bury that ministry, bury that church, because there will be a lot of issues. Some people will kick against it, some people will not agree. Some people look at the stature, the look of that, the educational qualification, the biblical positions, or what spiritual position, or whatever may be the reason they will use to disqualify that person. These things will not show. These things will not happen when you do it by yourself before you leave the ministry or before you are called home. I think I am making sense here. I think you also you are understanding it, and you are getting the message. Our message is simple and clear.